not only to take care of your body, but also I found that holding boundaries, it's like extra to be in the place where you're like, I wouldn't want to be anybody else but myself.
I
That's the
love that.
ultimate.
Hey, friend. Welcome to the Ready to Rise podcast with your host, me, Audrey Rose. This is the podcast all about taking your life to the next level. Join me on my journey as I create a life that I'm obsessed to wake up for every day. I hope that you are ready to create a life that you really, really love. Are you ready to rise? I got to be one of the first to experience Beam live, which was amazing. But I would love if you could kind of introduce yourself, and then we can definitely talk about Beam and kind of the background, like what led you into creating this program.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It's funny because when people
Yeah.
ask me like introduce yourself, I'm like,
Yeah.
what aspect do I want to highlight,
I know,
Because
right?
we tend to always be
Where do we
like,
start?
oh, we only are one thing. And then I feel like over the years, I've
Yeah.
been expanding into so many other versions of who I am. But
Yeah.
I'm I'm the Beam creator. And on top of that, I'm also a life and mindset coach. And I come from the background of events and organizing events. So that's basically my background. And I feel like everything is kind of like interconnected now.
Yeah.
But yeah, BEAM stands for breathwork, energy, and movement. And it came about as a way. So the idea came through a breathwork session. One of those like immersive 45 minutes of just like breathing in a
Ooh.
very intensive way.
Yeah.
And I've always been like really fascinated by breath work. I feel like for me, it was the thing that helped me the most to connect with myself. Um, I started meditating and I was like, I don't know how to do this. Like
Yeah.
sitting in the present and not thinking about anything is really not easy. And then breath work allowed me to shift the perspective of like, okay, it's not about clearing your thoughts. It's about placing your attention into the present, into the now. And
So
that really
good.
helped.
Yeah.
And so with that, I was at this breathwork class, and I think I was really deep into my subconscious. And this idea came of like merging breathwork, which I found so potent and so necessary in my day-to-day life, and merging it with my past, basically. I used to be a dancer, a ballet dancer.
Oh, that's
And
right.
so that like dancing movement has been part of me forever. But that was something that I started when I was really little. And it has always been so dear to my heart. And for me, Beam was a way to connect with my inner child. You know, I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with inner child work. So, but I'm going to give a little bit of a synopsis
Yeah.
of what
I would
it.
love to dive in a little. Yeah.
Okay, good. So basically, we all have this inner child inside of us that it's triggered or that it comes out and rules the way we see, do, and have the things we have in our day-to-day life because of how this little child inside of us feels internally. So all the triggers and all these things that we feel are very much related to how we felt back then, right? And so for me, one of the big things about like when I started therapy and all those things was that my inner child needed so much love and so much play. Those were like the two things that were always so present, basically. So for me, merging Beam and creating Beam was a way for me
Yeah.
to honor my inner child in such a powerful way. And like everybody needs a modality that kind of like allows them to express ourselves. We're not taught, and I mean, you were able to experience Beam for the first time, and I really like starting the class with those 3 questions that I ask you. which was, if you ever like grow up in a household where you were, very constrained in the way of like, how proper and how put together you had to be and things like that. That was like me 100%. Like I couldn't express myself. And then what else? I asked like, raise your hand if you ever been judged by being, too much of these or too little of that, too smart or too curvy or too whatever. And it's so funny because we all feel like that. And like you would think like, oh, this person can never be judged by that. We all are judged into the extremes, and that creates that like insecurity within ourselves of like, oh my God, I'm too much of these, or I shouldn't try that because I'm not, I'm not
that girl.
All the narratives.
Yeah, totally.
And so, that was, I feel like the mind can only take you so far. Sometimes it's like, when we start rationalizing and being like, no, like, let's work on like limiting beliefs and stuff. Sometimes we have to take it deeper. We have to take it in a somatic way of like, how can I release this thing that I feel inside of myself that it's holding so much tension? And that's a little bit what encompasses all together. It's like, it's weird because I never know how to call it. I call it always an experience because it's like, well, it's sort of like a workout, but I don't want people to go because it's a workout, because it's so much deeper into, the therapy work, so to speak, as well. So
it gets you deep.
How would you call it? I don't know.
Oh, it's definitely an experience that'll get you, like, it opens you up, is how I felt. I felt like all of my insecurities, limiting beliefs, thoughts, to-do list, it all just melted away. Okay, you guys, it's that time where there's a couple of announcements. So the first one I want to say is that on June 20th, we are doing a free masterclass. It's called From Burnout to Bliss, and it is all about learning some of those tools, those different healing modalities that are going to get you to where you want to go, right? Be the person who is less stressed, be the person who is enjoying life, and be the person that you really want to be. So we are so excited. The first thing to do if you want to get in is text the word bliss to 707-347-0723. Again, 347-0723. I am so excited for you, and be on the lookout. If you go to helloaudreyrose.com/events, you're going to be the first to know about all of the new courses coming up, the coaching we have coming out, and the best part, my favorite, the retreats. Woohoo! I'm so excited, you guys. Check it out. And as always, everything's going to be posted on my Instagram, which is @HelloAudreyRose. Especially as we began like the breathwork session. And then I was able to really like get into my body, get into that subconscious almost, and just like forget about everything and just play and be happy and like be there. It just felt so good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's funny because one of the things that I was talking with some of the ladies that were at the Galentine's event, and then after they took my class virtually after, and they were like, oh, I loved that. Now I know what the sequence of the class looks like, so that I am fully able, like, because I know what's coming next, or like, how does it look like? I'm much more able to really release, really be in the moment, and really like let go and like go full out. At the beginning it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, it's more like, what am I, what is this class about? What am I supposed to be moving or feeling, or like all those things? And then the more the more you take it, you're like, okay, and now these, and now we're doing that,
Yeah. And I love that you just said that, is like somebody thinking like, what am I supposed to be doing? Because honestly, like, you obviously show us like what we're doing, but at the same time it's an expression. So you're doing you, right? And I love that.
You're doing you.
Yeah, it's so good. Tell me about like kind of what it entails. So we're doing, just for those who haven't experienced it yet, I just want to give like an overview. So you're matching up kind of some of this breath work and then moving into like a movement sequence.
Yeah. So the way it's broken down is that at the beginning you have this breath work session, which is So a lot of people, when they think about breath work, they think about being in a meditative state, but what I call it, it's more like an invigorating state. So breath work can be utilized in two different ways. Like breath work can be utilized to bring you in your parasympathetic nervous system, which is basically your rest and digest state, your calm state, or it can bring you in your sympathetic nervous system. Most of the time, we're trained to be in our parasympathetic nervous system because we are constantly being stimulated by stuff that brings us into these stress environments. So we're trained to, okay, we have to calm down, we have to bring ourselves down. But what we're doing in this class, it's totally the opposite. And it is not a bad thing as long as you are in a safe environment. You really have no stimulants around you that really bring these like stress and anxiety inside of you. It's more like I'm in a safe space and I am breathing like that so I can activate myself. So that's a little bit what it's happening at the beginning. And then after, slowly through movement, we are so we're starting in a seated position, and then we're slowly making our way up. At the beginning, like the songs are a little bit more like calmer and things like that, just to slowly get more into like the body and like how does it feel to be inside of our body. And I know that I make that analogy in all my classes where like you are made out of like 70% water. And so we're starting about like, how does water move? You know, like just sometimes like it's like we get so attached, like the ordinary mind is constantly thinking of like, how am I supposed to be moving, or how am I supposed to be I don't know, like what am I supposed to be saying, or I don't know,
or
whatever
thinking.
Like,
I remember that for me a little bit in there. I was like, well, what am I supposed to be thinking? Oh my gosh, I need to keep clearing my mind or whatever.
And it's a process. It's a process. We cannot expect us to be perfect all the time. And even myself, when I give myself the class, you know, there's days that are better than others, like, and that's okay. It's part of the process. And so, so that's a little bit at the beginning, you know, we get more into our bodies. How does it feel? Like, you know, and again, like coming back to the movement part, I've always wanted to call it movement and not dance, because we easily make that association of like, oh, if it's dance, I cannot do it, you know?
Good point.
When we're thinking about movement, you if you can stretch a limb, then you are able to move, right?
Right.
If you can walk, you're able to move. So it's that much more like, you know, invitation to like just try it out. And then throughout the class, we are upping the music beats and stuff like that to kind of like we're tapping into our inner child, like being so much more playful, so much more fun, letting go of like, you know, all these like sticky, icky thoughts that we have of like, oh, comparison, oh, I'm better or I'm worse, or like all those things. And after that, we are going much more into an embodiment phase. You know, the embodiment phase is more like, okay, what am I ready for? And what am I ready to call in? And what I need to be in order for me to have what I want to have, you know? And so it's more about like bringing all this energy back into you. And it ends up being a party.
Yeah. And it feels so empowering. It's so empowering. And like that dance, just, you're like, I remember for me at first, like in our event, it was just like, so much movement. Right. And I thought like, oh my gosh, I can't dance like this. And I did have that split second, like you said, I'm like, oh, I can't do this. Or I can't keep up with the other girls. They're like going around real fast. And then I had that change of heart where it was like, whoa, this is so empowering. Just doing what I want to do, doing what I'm feeling, like expressing myself.
Yes, I love that. Yes. Being able to express yourself through your own vessel. Like, and that's one of the things that I mentioned too during class, is like, close your eyes if you feel like you're comparing or judging yourself. Because you got so much in the head of like, oh, but they're doing this, therefore I need to do that. Like, I'm just giving you inspiration of how you could move. But I know that even like when I'm watching other people move, I'm like, I don't know how to move like that. So therefore, my natural way of moving looks very different than your natural way of moving, and what somebody would think a movement of pushing things aside would look maybe, in a particular way, for me looks totally in a totally different way,
So
and
true.
I love that people are able to find their own expression through it. But I also feel like, yes, at the beginning, it's just so new and so like, oh, what is this about? That I'm just thankful that you were able to just try it out and see what happens. And yeah.
I know, it's so fun. Did you purposely really aim for this program to be something about like working with your inner child or kind of healing that inner child? Or was there more, or did you just like feel that this was important on many different levels and want to bring it out to everybody?
Yeah, I felt like for me, it was an expression of myself to 100%. Like, I don't know how to put it into words. For me, it was like the most self-expression way for me to be. Like, basically, I feel like it encompasses so many things of what I've been working through and working on, and that I needed and that I work on right now. Like, it just encompasses so many different things. Like, therapy was amazing for me, and it helped me so much to connect with my inner child. But then, like, how can I also make my inner child feel so much more playful and much more loose and much more fun? Like, for me, therapy was like sometimes very heavy and a lot of processing, a lot of healing, and a lot of crying. And so sometimes I needed to like move into that other state of like, let's just have fun with it also, and that was a big part of me. Inner child work has been like such a change in my perception and my perspective of how I coach clients, and I work with my triggers and their own triggers, like everything. And then I feel like dance has always been part of me. Like, it's like a no-brainer. Like, whenever I need to release, whenever I need to change my energetic state, that's what I do. And then breath work, meditation, like all those things like are like I never could have believed that I would have become so much more spiritual. Like, I've always been very like factual, very like earthy, and over the years I'm like, no, like there's such a different dimension around you that supports you, and that holds you in everything that you want and desire.
Girl.
So
Speaking of that, that's seriously such a good segue into something I wanted to bring up, which is like, you've been sick recently, and I wanted to talk. I felt like it was such a perfect calling to really talk about honoring our bodies and like the slowing down and, eating the nutritious foods and all of that. Like, if you could touch on that for a minute.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, most probably you might hear that in my lovely voice. but I got sick a few days ago, and man, like my body is like aching. I had shivers. It's not cute. It was not cute. And it's so important when you are in that state, not only to take care of your body, but also I found that holding boundaries, it's like extra important. Like yesterday I made I made plans with my friend to like meet up and like whatever, catch up on life. And then I was trying to like just make it work, see how I felt. And then when I was getting closer to meet, I was like, Laura, you have to rest. Like, this is no longer an option for you. Like, what's the beauty of it? That when you have people around you that get it, this importance of like self-worth, self-esteem, holding boundaries, honoring yourself, all those things. The second I said it to her, she's like, don't worry, baby. Like, we're seeing each other next week and we'll catch up then. Take care of yourself.
Good. Yep.
And that is such a nice, like, I loved over the years developing friendships that are like that, and that they don't make you
supportive.
feel bad for when you're doing, like when you're honoring yourself before anybody else.
Yeah.
Because as women, I feel like we always have this sense of guilt,
Yeah.
you know, of like always everybody else before us, and it makes us feel guilty. And it's like, no, girl, like you are the like you are the epicenter of everything that you create. And so you have to honor every part of you, you know. And like for them, like for a long time, like emotions so suppressed all the time. Why are you crying? Why are you so happy? Why are you so sad? Are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
so emotions have been so suppressed. And like now I'm letting it all out, however the heck it comes, because we need, there are just forms of like the emotion needs to get released through us. So
Yeah.
the quicker that we honor it, the quicker it will come, like it will come out of your body. So that's one of the biggest ones. And then food for me is medicine. So literally yesterday I was at my work and then my female chef, she, you know, we are such caretakers. It's so crazy as women. Like
Yeah.
I was there, and like she was the only female chef there, and she was like, oh my God, don't you worry. Like she started talking to me, and she was like, do you have lemons at your house? Do you have ginger in your house? And I was like, no, I don't have anything. And
Oh.
then she's like, okay, let me make yourself a little, like, she literally made myself like a health kit. And there was like, you know, lemon, ginger, what else was there? Kale, blueberries, blackberries, apples. I was like, thank God.
That is
So
so sweet.
yes, that was so, so sweet. Because as I was mentioning to you, like I live away from home. Like my parents,
Yeah.
my family lives in Spain. Like that's where I'm from. And I live here in the US. And yeah, of course, like you have really lovely friends, but like we all have like
Yeah.
lives to live and stuff like that. And, you know, like sometimes it's not as easy to have somebody like help you in this process. And when you are sick,
Yeah.
that it's like the extra thing of like, I really, really would like somebody to give me a hand right now.
Totally. Yeah. Or your mom's soup or whatever, you know?
Exactly, exactly. Well, she gave me everything, and then when I got home, I was like, make yourself a soup. And that's what I
Oh,
did.
I love what you just said about how food is medicine and just like, you've met Kelly at that event as well, and she's my gut health coach. And just for me, like going through that whole thing has been a whole process of change and just learning again how food is truly medicine for our bodies and how much better I feel now that I'm, doing more to honor myself. And I just
Yes,
loved, like, I'm glad that we got to talk about, you being sick, as crappy as that is, but it's also really good to remind everybody that like we have to take care of our bodies and honor our bodies, whether we're feeling amazing or even when we're sick, of course.
exactly. And one of the biggest things about like health coaching and like
Yeah.
for me, one of the biggest things is about developing that connection and that relationship with healthy eating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you're not eating healthy as a punishment, as a like,
So
oh, I
good.
need to lose whatever amount of pounds or anything like that. It's more like, I want to nourish my body with this
Mhm.
incredible fuel that I know that my body will be so thankful for. Like
Yeah.
the whole narrative is so different when you're like versus, no, I gotta lose 10 pounds. I need to
Mhm.
eat salad every day for the next 30 days. Like the energy with one versus the other is just so different, so different.
Mhm.
And it takes time to develop a good relationship with food, like especially for people that have not grown up with this type of eating.
Yeah.
um you know, sometimes it's hard
Such a
to
good point.
yeah. And
Yeah.
one of the things is like, for me was very shocking to come to the US and see how people eat and how people relate to healthy eating. Like, no one people don't want to eat healthy if you boil broccoli.
Yeah.
Like, this is
Spain
the
is
most
so
boring,
different. Yeah. We're
right?
so
It's like
blessed.
this is the most boring thing you can
Yeah.
eat healthy. Like make it fun, make it
Yeah.
playful, like make it flavorful. And I don't know if you know, but I have a meal prep program. Um,
Oh, no, I
yeah,
didn't know. That's awesome.
yeah. Because for me, I wanted to like optimize the time that people spend
Yeah.
in the kitchen because we always feel like, oh, because I don't have time, that's why I make those choices, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like,
100%.
no. Like, let me optimize your time in the kitchen and you'll see
Yeah.
how damn easy it is to eat healthy
Yeah.
and in a way that feels so like different. Like for me, so the special thing about my type of meal prepping, if you want to call it like that,
Yeah.
um, it's that I don't batch like the recipe on itself altogether. So, like for example, when you're making like chili and beans or whatever it is, I don't massively batch that. What I would
Wow.
do is that I would massively batch the beef, or I would massively batch the veggies, and I would massively batch whatever other thing goes in it, the rice.
Sure.
Then the beauty of it is that one day you'll be eating rice and beans or whatever, but then another day you'll be eating ground beef with another type of veggie or another type of grain. And
Oh,
combining all those things makes it so much more fun.
like that type of meal prepping is amazing because you're not doing everything at once. That's for me what burned me out in the past of trying to be healthier is like it felt like so much worse.
Plus, like, who wants to eat
Mm-mm.
the exact same thing
Yeah.
for the course of a week? You know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
you got to make it diverse, you got to make it, different.
Yeah.
But of course, if you don't have the resources or the tools to mix it up
Mhm.
and to make it fun, you're like, okay, I guess rice and beans it is. So one more day,
Right.
So
Right. And then you find, I remember for me, once I finally got tired of this chicken salad I used to eat every day, I finally got tired of it. And then it was like DoorDash Central. It was so
oh yeah,
bad, like to
yeah.
work, to home, like, oh my gosh. And yeah, and then
Oh,
that, of course, wasn't supportive because that creates the cycle of like that kind of food made me tired. Now I don't want to do anything and like
yeah,
continues.
it's always a vicious circle. I know.
Hmm.
And as much as people hate to see it, to hear it, it's always balance. I like it's
Uh,
so annoying, but it's so true, it's
mhm.
like even when you go into the extremes of like a not healthy human being, it's like
Mhm.
it's not sustainable either.
Mm-mm.
Same thing if you go into the other extreme of like just junk food every day, it's
Yeah.
like it's just not sustainable. Same thing as if you go like exercising every day or non any day. Like
Yeah.
this affects your mood on the ups and downs so drastically.
Yeah.
Also, like, yeah, it's just all connected: mind, body, spirit,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a good point. Just maintaining the balance, you know?
Yeah, and allowing yourself to go through it, and be like, hey,
Yeah.
today was shit day. Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I love
Whenever I
that.
feel like I'm going like whenever I do something that it's bad, let's call it
Uh-huh.
in all the brackets possible,
Yeah.
um, I'm like, okay, that's okay. You did an exercise today, or
Hmm.
you ate whatever today. That's cool.
Hmm.
Then the
Yeah.
following day, if it happens again, you're like, okay, that
Hmm.
happens again. And then if a third time happens, and then I bring into my awareness, it's like,
Yeah.
is there anything else that we want to like, that we're trying to cope with,
Yeah.
is there anything else that we can be taking a look at? It's just
Hmm.
bringing it to your awareness and being like,
Hmm.
no, I've been sick and that's why I've been resting. Then great, there's nothing to take a look at.
Sure.
Or okay, I've been doing this for a number of period of days.
Yeah.
Is there something else? Is there something that has happened, or a thought, a situation, whatever it is
Mhm.
that has happened that made me start taking these
Mhm.
downward
The
action,
changes, yeah. I love that you mentioned that, and I really want everyone listening to go back and re-listen to this because I've been learning this personally lately, and it's helped me so much because now I'm not automatically beating myself up. Instead, I am doing what you just said, take a step back, and I'm thinking about it in a different way. Like, hey, it's cool. I had a donut at work yesterday, actually, and I've been so proud of myself for like avoiding all the junk food at work. But I totally felt like that. I was like, you know what, though? Honestly, it's fine. I've done such a good job.
Oh
And
yeah.
like, I know that when we get to that point where we really need something or we're just really craving it, if I don't give myself it, then I'm going to like go
Yeah.
hard on the junk food
Yeah.
a week from now. So
Yeah.
we're going to incorporate it. And it's not bad, like you said, like just, put that in brackets. Like it's not horrible for us. So,
Absolutely not. And
yeah.
again, what we were saying, it's all about the balance. So
Yeah.
if you're eating well, who the heck cares that you're eating a donut? A donut is
Yeah.
not going
Right.
to make any drastic changes in your
Yeah.
life. That's
Yep.
it, period. There's nothing else to entertain. There's nothing else to hamper yourself for it. Go and enjoy
Yeah.
the damn donut. That's it.
Yeah. I love that so much. Exactly. Go enjoy the damn donut.
Yes.
It's not going to make or break everything. Yeah. It's such a good point. All right, before that thought, I just wanted to remind you guys to hit up gutpersonal.com to check out some of my favorite supplements for gut health. Don't forget to use that Ready to Rise code at the end to save yourself a little cash.
Sure. My Instagram is Laura Enrique Health. My website is exactly the same, lauraenriquehealth.com.
Can I ask you, we have touched on so many things. I don't know if you have another like self-love tip or like if you could choose just any one of the self-love, self-care tips that you've given, like what would you tell everyone to go do for themselves?
Okay. This one is a super,
Ooh.
it's juicy. It's so powerful. And I learned it from my coach and I'm teaching it in my coaching. And
Wow.
I feel like everybody could really highly benefit from it. Okay.
Love this.
It takes a little bit of extra time because you have to go into the internet and take the test and the quiz of the 5 love languages, unless
Okay.
you know them already. Okay. And then just take the quiz and you'll know which ones they are. Basically, they'll go in order of like what is most relevant to you versus what is less relevant to you. The 5 love languages are gifts, words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, and quality time. And then whatever it's the first one, it's your self-love language. It's not about how you want, like, of course, it's also highly how you want others to love you, but it starts with how you want to love yourself.
Ooh. Wow.
So for me, the first one, it's words of affirmation.
Wow.
So how can I always watch the way I talk to myself? That is always a big one. Whenever I inspire myself and I caught myself, Laura, why are you doing this? Like, oh my God, this was so dumb. Why are you not like paying attention to that? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's change the narrative here. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I do. And then that's my first one. And then my second one is acts of service. So for me, acts of service is a big, big, big one. I love when people remember, I don't know, if I like a certain beverage and they get it for me, or, if they cook for me, or if they open the door for me, or like, it's just like the little tiny things that make me feel so damn special. And I do those things for myself. Like for me, food is a very big one as a way for me to express love to others. But also it's a big one as a way to express love to myself. So for example, yesterday when I was sick like a dog, I was like, you know what? We're going to dedicate some time to make ourselves a really nice soup. And that's what I did.
Those are so good and so fun because I never thought of it that way myself either. Like putting those acts or those love languages into my love for myself. So everybody needs to do that more often. Like imagine how happy of a place the world would be if everybody started with truly loving themselves.
I know. Accepting ourselves, loving ourselves, it's a big work, it's a big work.
Yeah.
Like even if you might be doing all the things, it starts with the mind, it starts with really going deeper into like, okay, what was this little version of ourselves needed so desperately, like I grew up being compared all the time, like for years and years and years. And that made me believe that I was not worthy and I was not smart enough. And like to break this narrative after 30 years, it was hard. It was hard. It was a lot of work, but man, like to be in the place where you're like, I wouldn't want to be anybody else but myself. That's
I love
the ultimate result that we want to accomplish. Yeah. And that I would love everybody to accomplish.
That's so beautiful. I feel like we should end on this note. Like this is just, I love this. I love it so much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate people like that, I love people that make podcasts because that's not something that I know that right now I feel called to do. And it takes a lot of courage to do it. And I really honor and value the people that are doing this work and giving this platform to others. So thank you.
Yeah. I'm so happy you got to make it to another amazing episode of the Ready to Rise podcast. Don't hesitate to share this with a friend that needs to hear it. Send it straight to their DMs. Take a screenshot, throw it up in your stories, tag me in it at Hello Audrey Rose. And don't forget, if you leave a written review on the iTunes app, that also helps people find it. So if it resonates with you, help others find it. And I can't wait to hear how much you loved this awesome episode. Have a blessed day.